with the news right now. The House of Representatives is worried by the clashes between security agencies and the Islamic Movement of Nigeria and has decided to initiate dialogue between the sect and the federal government. In addition, lawmakers have summoned security chiefs to brief them on steps taken to prevent another clash. Correspondent Joke Adisa reports.
A motion on the matters of urgent public importance from Kano legislator Shamsuddin Bello draws attention to the recurring confrontations between police and the Shiites. The legislator's intervention comes barely 24 hours after a clash between the police and members of the Islamic sect left a number of persons dead and properties destroyed. The mover wants the group proscribed in the wake of the violence that has followed its protest in the last few weeks.
We need to checkmate this issue. We cannot sit down and allow individuals at their own whim to decide when they will come and cause destabilization within the country.
Then, as debates open, members argued the need for the security chiefs to brief the House on ways of forestalling a repeat of breakdown of law and order.
That the leadership of this House should invite the security chiefs of this country for them to share their challenges and then equally share in the ways that this House can assist the security architecture of this country in finding lasting solutions to the many security infractions that we have in the country.
Members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria should respectively sheath their sword, allow dialogue to continue, allow engagements to continue. Let us be peaceful, so that in the end, we can be able to address this perennial problem, which all of us here are sympathetic to.
But the prayer seeking the release of sect leader, Mr. Ibrahim Zaki, turned the plenary into a rowdy session as the speaker put it to vote.
Amendment is specific to Kaduna State government to obey the court order that had granted bail to the Sheikh, because that would actually guarantee peace.
The presiding officer calls for a division. Then follows a closed-door meeting which lasted for about 30 minutes. As the doors were thrown open, the lawmakers will not talk about the issue that divided them. By a resolution, House Leader Mr. Halazan Adodogwa leads a 7-man HADA committee to interface between the federal government and the aggrieved members of the Islamic sect. The ultimate goal is to see that there is an amicable resolution of the demand of the protesters, whose only wish is that their leader be released to attend to his health. Joke Adisa, TVC News, Abuja.
Well, let's talk about this issue now. Joining me from Skype from Port Harcourt, the security expert Oluwaseyi Adebayo. Good morning, Mr. Adebayo. Talking about this House proceedings of Tuesday, now they want security chiefs to come address them. For you, what is critical at this point?
Good morning. My name is Adetai, actually. So I think beyond all the rhetorics, I think we need to actually look beyond just raising emotion and moving into taking critical action. If you look at what happened 2 days ago, it calls into question our ability to control crowd, to manage protests. And it's one of the reasons why, people are calling for investigation, not just because we want to give justice to those that were killed, but also to prevent people from dying going forward. So to me, I feel justice for the dead is about preventing other people from dying, and that is about taking critical steps as to what led to the death of several people that day, and also how do we prevent this matter. And that takes us back into the issue at hand. I have advised in the past, and my advice is coming from the backdrop of all the efforts that have been made so far that have not yielded any fruit. If the sect are calling for the release of their leader, and government feels that the release of the leader could heighten insecurity in the country, there is a way out to this. And the way out is, I can give an example. When the world leaders felt that the presence of um, this Liberian leader will not allow peace to reign in Liberia, he was granted asylum. Nigeria decided to take him in with agreement with other world leaders. And then he was kept in Nigeria on asylum, or maybe you call it an exile.
So you're saying El Zakzaky can be released, but with conditions. What precisely do you mean?
What I'm trying to say is that government can actually speak to friendly nations that are having good diplomatic relationship with, that can actually take in El Zakzaky on asylum, and while we allow all this to cool down, if releasing him into Nigeria could portend, heightened insecurity, we can do that under certain conditions, where he will be there, he will be free, he will be able to attend to his health. His followers can actually reach him, not in incarceration. We need not to forget the fact that the man is aging and his health is failing seriously. Even if he should die now of natural cause, the followers will not want to accept that that he wasn't killed by government. So
all right, Sheyi, let's spare a few more seconds now to do a brief post-mortem as to what transpired on Monday. That's the death of a DCP and a journalist. International bodies have even called for investigation. Why should live rounds have been fired?
And that's what I'm saying, that it brings into question how we manage crowd, we manage protests in Nigeria. I think it speaks volume at our level of lack of professionalism in that regard. And when we're spending money on security, I think it is one critical area that we actually need to spend money on training people to manage crisis, to manage crowd. What happened does not show a professional police force. Now, I'm not putting the blame on them. I'm trying to talk about, you see, it is what you give that you get. If we have trained our police force to that level, they'll be able to do better than that. What I'm saying is that I'm calling into question, how much of training are we given? How much of investment have we put in the Nigerian police force to be able to give us a better, law enforcement practice?
So you're exonerating the Shiites. The fires were shot from the police accidentally, though?
I am not actually pointing at any group. I'm talking about how do you see, we've seen more serious protests in other countries and that have been professionally managed. If we train our police force better than the way we've done, I think the result could be better than this.
No matter how... Thanks a lot. I'm afraid we've run out of time. Sheyi Adetayo, thanks a lot for your analysis.
Begin with the news now. The House of Representatives is worried by the clashes between security agencies and the Islamic Movement of Nigeria and has decided to initiate dialogue between the sect and the federal government.
In addition, lawmakers have summoned security chiefs to brief them on steps taken to prevent another clash. Joke Adisa reports.
A motion on the matters of urgent public importance from Kano legislator Shamsuddin Bello draws attention to the recurring confrontations between police and the Shiites. The legislator's intervention comes barely 24 hours after a clash between the police and members of the Islamic sect left a number of persons dead and properties destroyed. The mover wants the group proscribed in the wake of the violence that has followed its protest in the last few weeks.
We need to checkmate this issue. We cannot sit down and allow individuals at their own whim to decide when they will come and cause destabilization within the country.
Then, as debates open, members argued the need for the security chiefs to brief the House on ways of forestalling a repeat of breakdown of law and order.
That the leadership of this House should invite the security chiefs of this country for them to share their challenges and then equally share in the ways that this House can assist the security architecture of this country in finding lasting solutions to the many security infractions that we have in the country.
Members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria should respectively sheath their sword, allow dialogue to continue, allow engagements to continue. Let us be peaceful so that in the end, we can be able to address this perennial problem, which all of us here are sympathetic to.
But the prayer seeking the release of sect leader Mr. Ibrahim Zaki turned the plenary into a rowdy session as the speaker put it to vote.
Amendment is specific to Kaduna State government to obey the court order that had granted bail to the Sheikh, because that would actually guarantee peace.
The presiding officer calls for a division. Then follows a closed-door meeting which lasted for about 30 minutes. As the doors were thrown open, the lawmakers will not talk about the issue that divided them. By a resolution, House Leader Mr. Halazan Adodogwa leads a 7-man HADA committee to interface between the federal government and the aggrieved members of the Islamic sect. The ultimate goal is to see that there is an amicable resolution of the demand of the protesters, whose only wish is that their leader be released to attend to his health. TVC News, Abuja.
Joining me on Skype from Port Harcourt is a security expert, Oluwaseyi Adetayo. Now, Sheyi, it's good to have you join me right now on the program. Now, when it comes to the approach in handling the Shiite movement, a lot of people have said that the federal government has not handled this issue appropriately. So when it comes to the issue of dialogue, you think this is the way to go right now?
Yeah, it is. We cannot overemphasize the importance of dialogue in any conflict. And as long as we get them to talk, I think it is better for this country. But one thing is that for the parties that have been going for the dialogue, they should have the mindset to shift ground. Without such, there can be concrete outcome of such dialogue. And like I said earlier, government must also be willing to take available options for peace. We're not dealing with a small group here, we're dealing with a large group. And any uprising or group that is ideological caliber-based, it is always very difficult to destroy ideology. The group will continue to grow as long as they continue to believe in that ideology. So, in that idea. So it is important for government at this time to actually consider other options. And like I said, one of the open options to us right now is to consider an exile arrangement or asylum arrangement, just like we did for Charles Taylor in Nigeria, for all this pressure to actually come down. It doesn't mean that if somebody is on asylum that is entirely free, because it's still going to operate within the rules that will be set by the host nation, and to ensure. And I'm very sure Nigeria has a couple of friends, friendly nations that can, in these situations like this, because we cannot afford. We are having banditry issue, we are having kidnapper issue, that is herdsmen and farmers clashes, that is Boko Haram. We cannot afford to have this.
All right. Yes, Sheyi, I wonder how compounded this issue is, or how likely is this for government to actually come to dialogue when in some quarters it is reported that this sect is not even recognizing the authority of the government of the day. So how likely would the government go into a dialogue with a sect like that?
That is exactly one of the issues. See, when you are dealing with a group like this, you say what has to be, lots of wisdom must be applied. And that is why I'm saying this, that government needs to consider that particular option. You see, it's important to keep the leader of a group alive and active. It's one of the reasons why we have issue of Boko Haram with us. When this guy Mohammed Yusuf was around, he was able to manage his group. The moment he was killed, then the group went AYR. We could not. Right now, they are having several leaders now. So it is important. As long as their leader is alive, they can have access to their leader. I'm very sure that they can be tamed. They can be controlled easily. It's not a problem that started yesterday. This problem had been with us over a period, for a long time. And if we trace this issue of radicalism, that started a long time before now. And for what actually brought this group, we need to take it back to the Iranian Revolution. And it was the ideology and the success of Iranian Revolution that brought about, the advancement of this particular sect, all around Africa. This same thing, this was the same ideology that was taken to Algeria that led to the Algeria, a political or civil war.
All right.
At that time when we had the GSPC, it was this same group, this same ideology. So we need to manage it carefully.
Okay, Sheyi, we have to leave you here now.